UFC Fight Night Lewis versus Nascimento is coming up this weekend. We've got your full fight card breakdown. We're going to sprinkle in some tidbits about what we think about the card from a betting perspective. Stick around. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm DS, and I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam.
Yo, DS, we had a little technical difficulties getting this started. It's a little late, but we're getting it going, baby. We're getting it going.
That's all that matters, brother. You fall down 9 times, you get back 8. Is that how it works?
Some shit like that. I'm not sure. Math sometimes don't be mathing. So
honestly, if you fell down 9 times and you got up 8, I would be like, bro, I'm still proud of you. I probably wouldn't have gotten up after like the 3rd time.
No, I feel that. I respect it. But yo, DS, look, we got this massive ass fight night. It's a pretty damn big fight night. You know,
as I was going through it when I was watching film, it's a great card.
I know, and it sucks because it's so close by here in St. Louis, Missouri. We were supposed to go to it, but then plans got a little weird. Missouri. And then things got a little weird. You had the new business going on. I got the new job going on. I got a torn ass fucking foot. So it's just been like a little bit of a hassle. We were supposed to link up with Energy. That would have been dope as hell, but he let me know that there is a possibility that we do an interview on Thursday, which would be badass weight cut night. That'd be sick. So maybe look out for that. But besides that, man, I'm pumped for this card. I am pumped for this card.
Yeah, it's a nice card. The main event is, whatever. But anytime you got Derrick Lewis, still has the potential to be fun. You have anything else to add before we get right into it?
I'm glad you asked that because I do have something to add. Let me do this. If you guys are enjoying the content or have enjoyed previous content, do me a favor. Go ahead, like and subscribe. Like that little banner at the bottom, the little scrolling thing. Just like, subscribe. It's free to do that, and it helps us out. There's a little bell, it's next to the like and subscribe button. What does that sound like?
The bell be like, yeah, brother.
That's what the bell sounds like, guys. So go ahead and ring that bell. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. You can also follow us on IG, and now we're on TikTok. I've mentioned that 2 or 3 times now. We've gained no followers. We have 1 video. We have like 3 followers. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing on TikTok. Someone help. That'd be nice, So do that. But on Instagram, we're pretty damn legit. We got some cool-ass followers. One of them is on this card here. So, stick around. Find out who it is if I didn't already give it away like 45 seconds ago.
Fire. Let's get right into it then. We've got 13 fights on the docket. First one of the night is, of course, J.J. Aldrich versus Veronica Hardy. Dino Bam Bam, give me your thoughts on this one.
All right, I will give you my thoughts on this one. J.J. Aldrich, I call her one of the long-lost Gaethje sisters, J.J. Gaethje. Let's go. She's a well-rounded fighter, Dino. Decent striker, decent grappling, nothing too special anywhere, really. She's just kind of okay everywhere, right? What is that?
I spilled a little bit.
I know. I saw that. What's going on? Is it stained?
I hope not. I never wear white shirts, and of course, here I am.
There we go. But anyways, like I was saying, J.J. Aldrich, well-rounded, just kind of okay everywhere. She's a bit hittable, which isn't a great thing, but she figures out a way to win fights. So that's kind of pretty damn impressive. She's coming off of 2 straight wins right now. She finished Liang Na, which is nothing new. Everyone finishes Liang Na. If you survive the first 3 minutes, you get the win. And then last time out, she got a decent decision win versus Montana De La Rosa as Dino walks away. She's taking on Veronica Hardy, formerly known as Veronica Macedo. Veronica Hardy, of course, the wife of former UFC fighter and commentator Dan Hardy. She's 3-4 in the UFC.
Also known as
Shimegami Hardy. Shout out her. But look, she's 3-4 in the UFC, Dino. But when she came back, she went on like a 3-year hiatus, let's call it. And since she came back from that, she's been 2-0, man. She's looked decent in the comeback, albeit that was against lower-ranked competition. She fought the likes of Jamie Linhorth and girl, Juliana Killer Miller. She got wins versus them. But look, she's a multi-time Taekwondo champion, but she does have some decent grappling as well, a smart fighter. I love to watch her and Dan Hardy on the podcast. Very smart fighter, man. I like her mindset when it comes to MMA. But to me, I just think ultimately J.J. Aldrich is probably the better fighter here. I'm not super confident in it at all. I can see her experience leading her to a decision win here. I'll be slightly rooting for Veronica Hardy, but the official pick is J.J. Gaethje.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. I think I would rather see Veronica Hardy win this one. Especially the fact that the odds are, what they are. JJ Aldrich being the underdog here has definitely fought the better competition. I'm not a big fan of JJ Aldrich, quite frankly. I think overall, Veronica Hardy is cool. I respect that she actually seems to like try and like actually like doesn't ever really give up, and seems to actually like I feel like she's improved. Like the time that she took off, she didn't just come back and like do the same shit. She actually seems to be a little bit better. So good for her. I'm sure having a husband that's in the community helps too. But yeah, I just think overall she's a little bit hittable. She's not like the best on the feet. JJ Aldrich, it's wild to me, first of all, that she's a Taekwondo like specialist. You never see her really doing shit with her Taekwondo, like any fancy kicks or anything, which is all that Taekwondo basically is. But the fact that the odds are what they are and that Veronica Hardy is a little bit hittable at times. And I just think JJ Aldrich is probably physically stronger too. I got to go with her as well by decision. We'll see what happens, like you said, I'm kind of rooting for Veronica Hardy myself.
Yeah, I see no way this fight ends in a finish. So I think if you're betting, decision is the way to go. Goes the distance is the way to go.
100.
Yeah,
100%. Maybe there's some, it's not a big plus money, but there's a little bit of plus money to be made on Aldrich. But probably more as like a parlay piece. But even then, it's a little bit risky.
You know how I feel about betting like lower level women's fights on parlays. It's not for me.
Yeah, no, I feel that 100%. Next fight of the night, we've got Jared Gooden, and he is taking on Kevin Jousset. This is a nice little fight, man. This is a nice little fight. I expect it to be pretty much, for the most part, a striking matchup. Jared Gooden has a lot of power. He marches forward and just kind of walks you down. He also himself is pretty hittable. I actually think both of these guys do have some defensive lapses oftentimes that you can catch. I think the biggest difference for me here between the two is that Kevin Jousset is just a much more technical striker, and I don't think he gets enough credit for what he is able to do on the ground. He's not like a complete specialist. He's also a city kickboxing guy, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Jousset? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he is. Yep. I just wish he's got the look, he's got the skills. I just wish he was a little bit more aggressive at times. But both these guys, it's a close fight, man. The odds are minus 225 Jousset. I don't know that I personally love those odds. I do think Jousset is the more skilled fighter here, and Jared Gooden can get a little bit sloppy. So for me, I do kind of expect Jousset to be able to stand on the outside, land some good shots, but man, he's got to be careful not to get caught. Like I said, Jared Gooden has a lot of power, and not something that you want to play around with. But I will pick Kevin Jousset to win. I'm going to say by decision as well.
All right, I feel that. I mean, I agree with most of what you said. I do just want to, applaud Jared Gooden for what he did, right? Leaving the UFC and coming back is a very difficult thing to accomplish. He obviously was cut by the UFC, went on the regional scene, went 4-1 in that time, Dino, and made his way back into the UFC, and then actually won a fight in his second stint, which is pretty damn impressive. On that stint, by the way, he lost to another channel follower. I said I was only going to say one, but here's the first of a few, I guess. Impa Kasang and I. Shout out my boy Impa, beat him on the regional scene. Does he follow us? On Instagram, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Follows us on Instagram. But yeah, look, Jared Gooden, man, I'll tell you this. When it comes to Jared Gooden and Kevin Jousset's resume, Jared Gooden's fought the better comp, man. That's one thing. He was really damn impressive in the Wellington Turman fight. Obviously, he's super athletic and he's powerful, so he has a chance against anyone in the division. But Jousset has that, French kind of style where he's going to just pick at range. And I expect him to there's a few fights on this card that are like that, where it's a careful fighter fighting a fucking powerhouse. And all you got to do really is avoid the power shots and avoid the dangerous shit early. And I think Jousset's going to do that. I think this could be a boring fight, but I think he ultimately gets the finish late in the third round in this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
By what?
TKO.
Like a hand?
Yeah, I think he maybe, just drops him up against the cage or, nothing like too bad. Not puts him out cold, but just like a tired, kind of beat up Jared Gooden, just, can't take anymore.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Respect. Moving on. Next fight, we've got Jake Hadley. He's taking on friend of the channel, Charles Johnson.
Let's go. That's another friend of the channel. That's two. We're keeping count this episode. That's two. Two friends of the channel so far. Shout out Energy. Let's start with his opponent, Jake Hadley. By the way, if you've been looking at the shit that that Energy's been putting up on Instagram, it's hilarious. He's got this guy looking like Smeagol out there. I fucking love that shit. But
yeah, where's that beef coming from?
I don't know. I think just Jake Hadley was kind of like talking smack about Charles Johnson, saying he's like, low level.
He's
or
like,
whatever.
oh, Charles Johnson, ain't it?
Right. Right. Pretty much. That's what he's been on. And CJ ain't no bitch. And CJ ain't no bitch, and he's fighting at home, man. So he's not taking that shit. But anyways, Jake Hadley, look.
You can find him in St. Louis.
Absolutely. Shout out Nelly. But look, Dino, Jake Hadley, very well-rounded fighter.
I should have had a little Band-Aid. I'm sorry. I should have had a little fucking Band-Aid.
That would have been sick. I went with the red and white theme, if you noticed, for the Cardinals. I hate the Cardinals. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm wearing the Bulls shirt. I should have worn my Cubs hat, but it's all the way over there, so I'm not going to do that. But anyways, look, Jake Hadley, man, he looked like a really, really legit prospect before entering the UFC. He's a solid, well-rounded fighter, good striking, really good jiu-jitsu. Like I said, on the regional scene, he was a big deal. He went to Dana White's Contender Series, and he missed weight on that fight, if you remember. He was the dude that missed weight. He ended up winning the fight, and he started like crying and shit. So they felt bad for him and gave him a shot. He promised he would never do it again. Then he comes into the UFC, and you're like, all right, there's a lot of hype around this kid. And he comes in and he loses, man. And then it's like, all right, fine. It happens. People lose their UFC debut. He goes on to win 2 fights in a row. Looks like things are starting to go for him. Then he gets his ass beat. He looked terrible last time out against Cody Durden. Just not a good look for him, man. He's taken on, as you mentioned, friend of the channel, Charles Energy Johnson. He looked good in his last fight, man. Very well-rounded guy again. We know he has the striking. We know Charles is known for the cardio, good grappling. I'm surprised at this point, Dino, that Charles Johnson really hasn't taken like that next step up, to be honest with you. I feel like he needs to be fighting higher-ranked guys, and it's some of his doing by losing some close fights. It's some of the UFC's doing by not pushing this guy, a little more a veteran, a former LFA champion. At the end of the day, I think both of these guys have great cardio. I think they're both very well-rounded, but I got to take Charles Johnson. He's a friend of the channel. We've got the interview linked in the description below. We might get another interview with him, and he ain't losing at home, bro. He's not losing a fucking Smeagol in St. Louis, Missouri, under the arch of the gateway to the west and all that shit. CJ by decision.
I like it, man. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, Jake Hadley, I just want to touch on him real quick.
Yo.
That's crazy to say. That's really crazy
goodness.
to say. I really expected more out of him. I was kind of on the hype train. I bought in. I knew he's got some good grappling, but the striking was never really like what I thought I saw on the regional scene. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. He hasn't been the same guy, that's for sure.
And he seemed like a lot more aggressive and like a lot more of a killer on the regional scene too. And I mean, I get it. A big step in competition goes to show you that there's levels to this shit. Both of these guys, I feel like, have kind of looked shaky at times. Charles Johnson, he was on down to his last fight in his contract. Obviously, I'm really glad he won that. And then here we are. So, is it the highest level matchup in my opinion? No, I don't think it is. But at the end of the day, Charles Johnson, I think, just has more of that dog in him. I just think he's going to go for it. It's his hometown crowd. They match up pretty good in the skills overall. I think Charles Johnson has better striking, and even if Hadley maybe does have better ground game, I think the length of Charles Johnson and also when have you really seen Charles Johnson out of his element on the ground? Never. I mean, he's really good at scrambles and getting his way out of bad situations. So I'm going to take him to win, man. From a betting perspective, I really don't see a finish in this at all. I think Charles Johnson by decision at plus 145 odds. I really like those odds. I think Charles Johnson at plus 145 odds, plus whatever it is for decision, I would smash that. Smash Charles Johnson by decision here.
Pause again by talking about smashing CJ, bro. I'm gonna tell him you said that.
Damn.
You know what? Two things I want to break down. Number one, we didn't do the Skullet Gang thing, bro. We told him we would do that.
Oh no.
So that's kind of bogus.
Oh, but I'm like a businessman, bro. I got like shit I need to. I can't just like.
Right, can't be looking like that, like in a getting loans and shit. Like they're not gonna give you money.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the second thing, good for CJ. He's finally getting a fight in a crowd. It's his first UFC fight, not at the Apex.
Oh my god.
That should be
That's
badass.
a
It'll
good
be a
point.
sick homecoming for him. He threw
We
out
talked about
the first pitch of the Cardinals game the other day.
Hell yeah. Fuck the
Yeah.
Cardinals, but
Yeah, I feel that.
that's sick though. Good for him. Good for
Also,
him.
shout out Wilson
Damn.
Caceres.
Yo,
I think he broke his arm today.
we should invite him to a we should take CJ to a Cardinals Cubs game one day.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Let's do that. That'd be fun. Anyway, moving on. We are moving on, right? Yes.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's go. We got a card.
Moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Trey Waters. He's taking on Billy Goff. Yeah, it's another decent little fight, right? Billy Goff, plus 135 underdog, and I think the odds actually make a lot of sense to me. He's got some good striking, man. He's got good wrestling too. He's pretty well rounded. Let me see. What was I trying to pull up? But yeah, to me, this one, it's still pretty straightforward. I am going to pick Trey Waters here. I just think he's the better fighter overall. I was impressed by Billy Goff's ability against, was it Kinoshita?
Yeah, yep.
He was getting beat up on in that one a little bit, and then finally, kind of weathered the storm, and then ended up getting that nice liver punch, dropped his opponent. I think the length of Trey Waters is going to be a problem for him, man. Trey Waters long, very rangy, wants to use that distance, and is going to try to kind of stay on the outside for the most part. And then kind of like in one of the last fights that I broke down just like a few minutes ago, Goff, very hittable, man. He tends to take a lot of shots, pause. Yeah, and I just expect Waters to kind of be able to land shots from a distance, man. I think, like I said, the length is going to be a problem. Unless he makes it real dirty and ugly, I just don't really see Goff taking this. Yeah, he's very resilient, but so is Trey Waters, right? So for me, I got to go with Trey Waters here. I think he gets a late round finish, man. I think he gets like a early third, maybe even a second round. I'm gonna go second round finish on this one.
All right, I feel you. A couple things I want to talk about. Trey Waters, man. I was really high on Trey Waters, Dino, and I feel like a lot of the MMA community was coming in from the LFA, and then he lost that fight to Bonfim, and I just feel like everyone kind of like threw the dude away and like forgot about him. If you look at Tapology, Billy Goff, who obviously is a fun fighter, but he's 61% to Trey Waters is 39.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
I don't understand that at all. Last time out for Trey Waters, he beat my boy and our boy and Josh Quinlan. By the way, Josh Quinlan, really tough stretch. He lost to Trey Waters and then got knocked out by Danny Barlow after that. So I'm hoping he bounces back.
But dude, but I think I actually like Josh Quinlan. I think Josh Quinlan's pretty good. So
yeah,
I don't think him fucking up Josh Quinlan is like anything to scoff at.
Yeah, I feel you. That's what I'm saying. And then with Goff, it's like I'm a little concerned. My concerns in Goff, on top of like all the good things you said, my concerns in him, I feel like his chin is kind of sus. On the Contender Series fight, he fought Shimon Smiritsky, and
shout out Davey
and shout out Shimon. But that was Dino, that fight was wild as shit for like a 3-minute fight. Like Shimon came out, absolutely rocked him, had him out on his feet, dropped him actually, had him really, really hurt. And then he bounces back and wins the fight 2 minutes later by getting a finish of his own. So something to be said about the resilience, but the chin kind of worries me. And then the Kinoshita fight, another just like weird one. To me, it's just like an eye test thing, and that's why I got to go with Trey Waters. I do think he gets a finish as well. I'm not sure on the round. I'll just say round 2 for the hell of it, but, I'm pretty damn confident in Trey Waters here.
Yeah, I am too, honestly. I am too. Moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got our second women's fight. It's Tabatha Ricci. She's taking on Tecia. Is it Torres still?
It's Pennington now, officially.
Tecia Pennington. That's what I thought. Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's start with Baby Shark, Tabatha Ricci. Shout out Tabatha Ricci. Look, she's a great grappler. We know that. Unbelievable submission skills, great ground control, solid ground and pound. On the feet, though, that's where the issues are. I'm not saying she's bad, but she's very just mediocre on the feet. Nothing special at all. Tabatha Ricci needs the takedown in this fight to get a win against Tecia Torres or Tecia Pennington. Let's move on to Tecia Pennington, the new Tecia Pennington, the tiny tornado. She's well-rounded, man. She's a very solid, short, stocky little striker. Unbelievable cardio, man. Great grappling. Super damn well-rounded. And she was one of the girls at the top of this division not too long ago. I mean, if we don't think about the layoff and we don't think about the fact that she became a mother in the time that she was off, this is a no-brainer. Tecia Torres wins this fight 9 out of 10 times.
I agree with you.
Yeah, but we do have to consider that, right? So with the time off and the pregnancy and all of that kind of stuff, I just don't know that it's going to work out for her in this one. By the way, nothing against being a mother. I love mothers. Shout out all the mothers out there and happy Mother's Day this upcoming weekend. But I just don't know if it like equates well or fits in well with fighting. So I'm going Tabatha Ricci by sub, man. I'm surprised at the minus 145 line. I would still expect Tecia Torres to be the favorite, but I guess smart money, right?
Yeah. You pretty much said it all, man. Tecia Torres is absolutely going to be better on the feet. She's got great movement, but I just think the big difference for me is when it gets to the ground. Tabatha Ricci, her striking is, I think you gave her a little bit more credit than I would have. Her striking is not very good, but I guess it is better. It's gotten better a little bit. I don't know. If it stays on the feet, or if you expect this to stay on the feet, you're taking Tisha Pennington here all day. But for me, if you look at Tabatha Ricci's recent losses, they've been a Lupi Godinez, who's been really good, and obviously Menifield, who's like a title contender now, right?
Yeah.
Tecia Torres, at the time, Tecia Torres, if you look at, yes, she has some nice wins, Angela Hill, Sam Hughes, whatever you want to do with that. But when she's fought when she takes a big step up in competition, your Marina Rodriguez is, right? Who even Marina is not as good as I thought she was going to be, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, she pretty clearly ends up losing those fights. So for me, I fully agree with you. I think the grappling is going to be the big difference here. I think Tabatha Ricci, once she's able to get you on the ground, somebody like Tecia Torres, I think she's going to be able to keep her there for the most part. Not like for the entire round type thing, but I think for the most part, she'll be able to outpoint her on the ground. I don't really see her getting a submission finish, but I'm going to take her by decision.
And then I just want to ask you, what do you think about the time off and the becoming a mom thing? Do you think that factors in at all? Like ring rust?
I've said that many times.
Yeah.
I've said that many times on this show. So I've said it probably 4 or 5 times. I feel like it's a miracle, obviously becoming a mom and childbirth and all that stuff. But I mean, we can't undermine the toll that it takes on your body. And then that's just physically, right? I mean, just think about physically, like what it does to your body. Your body's not the same after that. But even from a mental standpoint, it's like you have something that came into your world, no matter where fighting placed in your world, and it was probably number 1. It's at best number 2 now, So just being a parent in general, and I think for moms it's different still, man. Especially in the realm of this arena, in the realm of this sport, that you can't possibly expect her to be exactly the same. Coming off a layoff too. And she's 13-6, man. I'm not saying that's like an awful record in the women's division. She's fought really, really good fighters. But yeah, and listen, I think it's going to be close. I think there's a real shot she wins this. I'm not like super confident here, but I just got to side with Tabatha Ricci.
Fair. I'm with you.
Moving on. Next fight, we've got our boy Terrance McKinney. He's taking on, I think it's another our boy, Esteban Ribovics, right?
Yeah, 1000%. This is an our boy matchup, and it's a fucking banger, by the way.
Yeah, it's an absolute banger. Am I going first on this one, or are you?
You're the big guy on the screen now.
Yeah. Listen, man, we know what T-Rex is. He's dynamic. He's explosive as shit. He's an absolute athlete. The issue, and for the first minute and a half of a round, or of the first round, or a minute of the first round, whatever you want to say, I don't know that there's anybody better on the planet in this weight class, right? He's an absolute goddamn tornado. He puts it on people. It's just wild what he's able to do. It's really everything after the first minute or minute and a half that I'm concerned about with T-Rex. And if you've seen him fight, that's just what the story is, right? He's powerful as shit. He doesn't have a ton of cardio. He's got a ton of first round knockouts. He's actually got very good wrestling. I think that's one thing that people kind of forget about T-Rex is he's a really good wrestler. For me, it's kind of interesting that he's the underdog here, to be honest with you. It's kind of interesting that he's the underdog. He's inconsistent, so I think that's probably the main reason why. But yeah, having a lot of power and being a really good wrestler. And then he's taken on somebody who we've seen definitely doesn't have as much power. That's for sure. I'm talking about Esteban Ribovics. He had a win over Kamwela Kirk his last time out. Kamwela Kirk, not the best UFC talent. Let's be real. He's a kind of a bottom feeder. Is he? I don't think he's in the UFC anymore, is he?
I think he is. I think he's still in the UFC. I could
He
be
is.
wrong.
I haven't heard anything about him in a hot ass minute. And then he lost to Loic Ruziboev, which, that was a great fight, though. We'll see, man. I just think it's a big step up in competition for Ribovics. He can definitely be hittable. I will say he's got a pretty good chin. I mean, we've seen him take some big shots and still kind of stay in the fight. Versus in the Loic Ruziboev fight, I know he ended up losing it, but there were times where he ended up getting his licks back, but he looked out on his feet at a couple points before the fight ended. So, what's the reach advantage here? That's something I wanted to mention. So, 4.5-inch reach advantage for T-Rex. Plus, he's a good wrestler. If T-Rex had no semblance of any ground game or wrestling, maybe I would pick Ribovics here. I'm kind of shocked that the odds are what they are, man. I'm gonna take T-Rex. I'm gonna take him by first round knockout, man. I think he gets one of those patented T-Rex knockouts.
Yeah. And look, and that's the thing to bet here, right? You get Terrance McKinney as an underdog, so you can already add some money on Terrance McKinney by knockout, and then you could add some extra money by doing Terrance McKinney first round knockout, and then you could do it within the first 2 fucking minutes. So a lot of money to be made anytime Terrance McKinney's fighting, especially when he's an underdog. You pretty much said word for word what I wanted to say when breaking these fighters down, right? Like, we know exactly what Terrance McKinney is at this point. The cardio is the only question mark. That, and then maybe the chin is a question mark. I'm not sure. I feel like it's more so the cardio failing him that causes him to, yeah.
Exactly. It's the bro, man, when I used to train and I was out of shape hella, and I mean grappling, striking, whatever. My cardio wasn't the best at the time, I'll be honest with you. When I'm gassed as shit, bro, I could tap to a rear naked in 3 seconds.
Right. You're just trying to get out of there.
You're just trying to catch your breath, and then you also a very simple thing that many people don't think about, right? Why do you have a mouthpiece in, right? It's to create a circuit almost, right? Your whole head is a circuit, everything's tight, and it's all contracted, right? Mm-hmm. When you get tired, what happens? You start breathing through your mouth a little bit, and then your mouth is open, and then you're definitely it's a lot easier to get knocked out when you're not biting down.
Yeah.
So
1000%.
Yeah. I just want to say I do really like Esteban Ribovics. I don't know quite what to make of him yet. I know he's tough as hell. I know he's got some skills. I'm just not 100% sure where he fits in here.
Right. So that's kind of the question mark in this fight, right? I mean, obviously, anytime T-Rex is fighting, kind of similar to Derrick Lewis, there are the obvious question marks. We know what they are. He's one of those fighters. There's not too many in the UFC, but there's a couple, and you know exactly what the fuck you're getting when Terrance McKinney's fighting. Esteban Ribovics, some very impressive film. He's an amazing fighter. I really do think the sky's the limit for this kid. But again, you're right. We don't know. We haven't seen that much UFC film. We haven't seen him against very high level competition. Look, 2 similar guys, Dino. This fight's going to be fireworks one way or the other. I've been struggling with this one a ton. I've been flip-flopping on it to my guys. I'm actually going to side with Esteban Ribovics. For the first time, I'm not picking T-Rex on this show. But I wouldn't be fucking shocked, right? You can't be shocked.
But you know what it is for me, bro? It's the fact that he beat Kamwela Kirk. Okay, tells me nothing, right?
We were there, by the way.
Huh?
We were there.
Yeah, no, I know. Beats or loses to Loic Ruziboev, but has some moments, but still lost.
Yeah.
And then sure, that was just one pro loss. But then listen, he's not coming from Brazil. He's not coming from Russia. He's not coming from, Florida or somewhere around here, right? He's coming from the regional scene undefeated of Argentina, right? This isn't their MMA scene is growing and they've got some decent fighters, right? But it's certainly not a powerhouse. So I'm taking. You got to take his record with a little bit of a grain of salt. Again, I think he's really good. I'm shocked he's this big of an underdog. Or a favorite. I'm sorry. There's a reason he is though. I mean, Vegas knows what they're doing. So yeah, I don't think it's crazy to pick him. yeah. I mean, I just think T-Rex. Here's the thing. I also just want to say, if T-Rex doesn't get this fight finished in the first 2 minutes, Esteban Ribovics is going to win this fight.
Right, and that's the problem, right? So when you lay your money on the line, that's why I'm saying you got to go at most. You do Terrance McKinney by knockout straight, but it's like you got to dwindle it down, man. Because if he doesn't get a knockout in the first round, I don't think he's getting the knockout. If he doesn't get a knockout in the first 2-3 minutes, I don't think he's getting the knockout in the first round. So, a weird one. Love both these dudes. Shout out both of them. Yeah. What are we confirming? What's going on here?
He doesn't have a single finish in anywhere after the first round.
Yeah, I mean that's T-Rex.
I just wanted to I thought that was the case, but he literally in his pro career does not have a single finish outside of the first round. So chance. I mean, this might be one that maybe you live bet.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you live bet it. Maybe T-Rex is fucking him up, doing absolute damage like he did to Drew Dober, and then you throw some money on T-Rex. But you got to be quick about that because things could change quickly in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, moving on. Next fight of the night, and this is such a goddamn interesting fight. I'm talking about Chase Hooper versus Viacheslav Borshchev. Slava Claus. This is such a weird matchup, but I kind of love it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, a very weird matchup. Last time out, Chase Hooper got Jordan Levitt, which was a super fucking weird matchup. And now we get this absolute clash of styles. Chase Hooper, man, first and foremost, still fucking 24 years old. That's ridiculous. Yeah. He's been in the UFC forever. That's wild to me. Anyways, similar to Terrance McKinney, we know the fucking deal with Chase Hooper. He's a grappler. He's been working on his stand-up with Wonder Boy and shit. Has it looked improved? Yes. It's still not nearly high-quality UFC striking.
You know how I feel about that. If it's like somebody starting wrestling, like training, like sure, you could be an okay. It'll never be smooth. It'll never be second nature.
Agreed.
When you're that specialized, you know what I mean?
Right. And he's one of those specialists. He's a fucking boa constrictor on the ground. Like you know what it is. The striking's coming along, so that's good. But like you said, he'll never be known for that. One thing about him, man, he is one of those jiu-jitsu guys, that struggles to get takedowns. So interesting to see how that plays out. He's fighting Slava Claus, as you mentioned. He's a filthy striker. He's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Nasty striker, great power, great leg kicks, comes from a professional Muay Thai and kickboxing background. His issue, no ground game. So we got two guys that have the strength that is the other person's flaw. I mean, to me, it's really simple and it's a little complicated at the same time. The simplicity in this is whoever fucking dictates where this fight takes place is going to win this fight. There's no way in hell Chase Hooper wins a kickboxing match, and there's no way in hell Slava wins a grappling match. So I don't
think
know.
We're almost guaranteed. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think we're almost guaranteed that this fight will be, for the most part, one-sided.
Yeah, and I can see that. So look, I know the fight starts on the feet. Slava has shown he's tough as hell. I think he just keeps it on the feet, or even if he gets to the ground in that first round, if he's able to survive, I think he ends up finding Chase Hooper. I'm going Slava round 2 KO. I just don't love Chase Hooper's takedowns, nor do I really love him at 155 pounds, to be honest with you.
I hate him at 155 pounds. I'm glad you mentioned that. I had that written down too. This is such an extreme grappler versus striker matchup, Viacheslav Borshchev is just not good on the ground, man. Like he tries to do, but he just doesn't have the skills. You can clearly tell, like he just doesn't really know what to do in a lot of situations. Chase Hooper, man, sure his striking has improved, but again, this is such a tough one, and this is one I'm not going to go anywhere near betting wise. Probably this is one maybe I'd stay away from more than any other. This sets up as the worst kind of betting when you're trying to win, right? For me, because again, I think it's going to be one-sided, and it's just a matter of which way. And realistically, if anybody tells you they know, who the fuck knows, right? To me, I just don't trust Chase. Like most times, I will take the grappler in these situations. I feel like but if they have some wrestling, I think that's the thing is you have to be able to have the capability to get your opponent down. And you mentioned that, and I think that's really the key here, And there's no way I see Chase Hooper like dropping Slava Claus and then getting on top. Like if it gets to the ground, the fight's probably over. I think he's gonna have a hard time getting it there, man. And Yeah, Slava Klaus to me is a grown-ass man, and I just think he's going to end up bullying Chase Hooper on the feet. I'm going to go late first-round knockout.
And for whatever reason, I feel like his grappling, working with the guys at Alpha Male, and obviously he's way older than Chase Hooper. As I mentioned, Chase Hooper only 24 years old. It's weird to me that I feel like his grappling at Team Alpha Male is progressing faster than Chase Hooper's striking with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You would think being such a young guy that he would be improving, day by day. And I guess he is. I mean, he's looked better on the feet, but nowhere near where he needs to be. I like both of these guys for what it's worth, so it's going to suck seeing one of them get their ass kicked because that's what I think is happening.
Yep. Yeah. It'll be a fun matchup, though. This is the quirkiest matchup on the card for sure. Mm-hmm. Moving on, next fight of the night, we've got Waldo Cortes-Acosta taking on Robelis Despaigne, the Cuban kickboxing sensation.
Taekwondo. Yeah, Taekwondo. Come on, Dino.
I'm sorry, Taekwondo.
Taekwondo medalist, bro. Put some fucking respect on his name.
2012 Olympics. I'm aware. Took him a hot ass minute to really get into MMA, but I'm glad he did, man. He's an older guy, right? So we've talked about this. We wish he was younger. I think he would be really making some noise. It's funny, you see a striking specialist at heavyweight, and you can't compare him to somebody like Cyril Gane and how different they are, right? Also interesting to note, Taekwondo is almost exclusively kicks. Also interestingly enough, Taekwondo was my first martial arts venture in my life, which as a big ass kid is kind of funny to think about. But anyway, Robles Despaigne, interestingly enough, has finished most of his fights by punches instead of kicks, and Taekwondo is pretty much all kicking. So, yeah, listen, man, taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta, fuck that guy. Nobody likes him. He's won 4 out of 5 in his UFC career, so fine, I'm sorry, he's won more than that, actually. Right? He's won.
He's undefeated in the UFC, no?
He's undefeated.
Sorry, he lost to Marcos Rogério de Lima.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, 5 out of 6. But listen, I mean, look at who the hell. Oh no, yeah, 5 out of 6. But look at who he's fought. Right, the one decent guy that he's fought. He lost to Lucas Bresky, undersized heavyweight, not that good. Arlovsky, obviously, a 50-year-old Arlovsky beating up on him and talking shit to him and shit. That's why I say fuck him. Nobody likes this guy. This one is very straightforward to me, man. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You have an absolute a striking champion, an Olympic medalist, taking on this fat fucking sloppy guy. Robles Despaigne is going to knock his ass out in the first round.
Snapped. And Waldo Cortes-Acosta, former baseball player, so he comes in from fucking baseball. We got to mention that all the time. Really weird. You don't see many baseball players coming into MMA. I did want to touch on something there. You mentioned the fight against Andrei Arlovsky. Did he win that fight? Yes. Nobody fucking liked the way he was stunting as if he was beating the dog shit out of Arlovsky. He wasn't beating the dog shit out of Andrei Arlovsky. And it's all the respect in the world to Andrei Arlovsky. That's a former champion, but he is old, dude. And it's you see when Andrei Arlovsky fought, for example, a guy was it Tom Aspinall that choked him out? Yeah, right? You see what Tom Aspinall is able to do. Obviously Tom Aspinall, the interim champion right now, but it's just dude, if you want to be a contender in this heavyweight division and you're supposed to be that next fucking guy, you need to be doing that to Andrei Arlovsky. By the way, the 10-7 glove right here, signed by friend of the channel, Andrei Arlovsky, the Pitbull, baby. So, yeah, I hope that Robelis Despaigne gets his lick back. I absolutely expect him to. Robelis Despaigne has shown me nothing. First of all, he's literally shown us nothing. Dude's entire fucking fight time in the last 4 fights is 30 seconds combined. So, yeah, I think he's going to get the first round knockout. I think it's going to be within a minute. I would be interested to see what the fuck he looks like post 2-3 minutes. And I hope he's not one of those dudes that gets fucking exhausted and looks miserable. But I hope we don't see it this time out. I want him to get another one of those fucking knockouts in a crowd against the guy that everybody fucking hates. And then we can start answering some of those fucking questions.
Bro, fuck all that. Smash first round knockout. Smash first round knockout.
First minute.
It might be.
Yeah.
I don't think this guy's good. I really don't. So I can't wait for him to get fucking chin checked. All right. Next fight on the card, we've got Alex Caceres. He's taking on Sean Woodson. By the way, the last card was the main card opener. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, so we move on to the second fight of the main card. Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. Dino, will start there. He's obviously been in the UFC forever. If you were a UFC fan, or even if you're like a UFC casual fan, you should also check out the UFC Casuals guide that we do. Go check that out. Link in the description and all that bullshit. But if you're a casual fan and like, you've seen some MMA, you've seen some UFC in the last fucking decade, you've seen Alex Caceres. This dude comes out there with a big ass fucking haircut. Like, he is very recognizable. He's also super well-rounded, man. You're not going to be in the UFC for that long if you're not well-rounded. He's fought stupidly high-level competition. Everything he does is pretty awkward. Like, he's very technical, but shit comes from awkward places. I think that's what's been like the driving factor in him being successful. The volume's phenomenal. The power is sneaky good. Last time out, he did lose to Giga Chikadze, but he took a whooping in that fight and showed his toughness. Not that anyone ever questioned the toughness of Alex Caceres. He's taking on Sean Woodson. Dino, a guy that I don't really love Sean Woodson. I think I've made that like pretty damn apparent on this show, but I will tell you the dude is fucking legit. I expected him and I picked him to beat Charles Jourdain last time out. And he did just that. Look, he's super tall. He's super long bodied. He's a former professional boxer. He knows how to manage distance. He uses the jab very well. And then you would think the recipe is to take this guy down, but being fucking 8'9" at 145 pounds, he's next to impossible to fucking take down. So in his one loss in the UFC, I actually just saw a thing that the UFC put out on him today. He has one loss in the UFC, and that was his mother actually was like in jail or some shit. She got arrested. So he was going through some like crazy shit during that time. And he's like, dude, my mind wasn't there at all. Look, man, I believe in Sean Woodson. I think he's a little bit of a weight bully. I think he's huge for this division, but I fucking believe in him, man. And I think this is a huge step up for him fighting Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres, but I think he gets the job done. I'm going Woodson by decision. Let's get him a fucking ranked guy next.
Yeah, you pretty much said it all, man. Alex Caceres, very unorthodox, super fun fighter, been around forever, man. It's crazy. He debuted in 2011. Is that
That's
nuts?
That is very nuts.
Nuts. But also Alex Caceres, man, 21-14, right? So has won a lot of fights, has lost a lot of fights. Also almost 36 years old at this point at these lighter weight classes. I don't love that. Yeah, and then it's been a hot minute since he's fought, right? It's almost been a year since he fought, like not quite, like 7-8 months, whatever it is. But I don't love that either. Sean Woodson's been more active. He's the younger fighter. And then really what I think is going to be the key here is that reach advantage and the height, man. Alex Caceres, having fought at the weight classes that he's fought his career in, you haven't come across many, if any, guys with the length and height of somebody like Sean Woodson, right? So being 6'3" or whatever the hell he is, and having a 78-foot reach or 78-inch reach to a 73-inch reach, which is normal and not bad reach at all, but it's just like, I think it's going to be hard to overcome, man. The boxing, he does a nice job peppering you. He does have some good power too, man, and I do expect the fight to stay on the feet. So maybe the odds are a little wide, but I'm going to side with you too, man. I'm going to go Woodson by decision.
All right, two things. He used to box Sean Woodson at heavyweight. So if you look and you look around on the internet, there's some pictures of him looking like pudgy as fuck. So that's where the power comes from. Also, second thing, Dino, completely unrelated. Can you do this for me? Can you just like pull down your shirt sleeve? It's like lined up with your blinds, and it's been tweaking me the fuck out the whole time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but we good.
Okay. All right. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. The fuck?
It was like a straight line. You're going to look back and watch it, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm not trying to watch it.
All right, that's fair.
I don't watch trash like this. Moving on. Next fight of the night, and this is a fun one too, man. We've got Diego Ferreira. He's taking on Mateusz Rębecki, and man, I'm really glad this guy's back. Huh?
His nickname, Robelis.
Yeah, I'm really glad this guy's back, man. I'm gonna take him here. The odds -265. I think they could even be wider, to be quite honest with you. But granted, Carlos Diego Ferreira is a seasoned veteran. More than anything, he's got the jiu-jitsu, right? He's got really, really strong grappling, really high-level jiu-jitsu, exceptional ground game. He's a submission threat always. He's okay on the striking. He's not anything special, but he's 39 years old, lost 3 of his last 4. Somehow beat Michael Johnson, so go figure. We've talked about that a lot. Mateusz Rębecki, man, the dude, so far, if he has a weakness, I haven't really seen it. He is explosive as shit. He's got more cardio than you would expect for somebody that's as jacked as he is. He's as strong as shit. I guess the one knock is like he's not very long or rangy, but shit, for his style, he doesn't need it, man. He's super aggressive. He puts people on the back foot. He hasn't fought like the highest level of competition, but it hasn't been terrible, man. And he's still getting his licks in. He's got massive, massive power, and he is a really, really good wrestler too. He's taken on a 39-year-old jiu-jitsu specialist. Is kind of what I would call him. For me, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward one, man. I think Rębecki gets this done. I think he's going to try to keep it on the feet, even though I think even if it does get to the ground, I don't think it's like a sure thing that it's done because he's so physically strong and he's so goddamn stocky. Sometimes these guys that are stocky as shit with the shorter necks, you have a harder time getting a choke on them or getting a limb. So I'm gonna go late first round knockout, man. I think he ends up clipping him. I think it'll be somewhat competitive. You know, maybe Diego Ferreira lands a couple shots here and there, but even if it's not the first round, man, I think Rębecki does get the finish here. I think he's a lock to win, though, no matter how it goes.
1,000%. I'm in the same boat as you, man. It's hard to count out a veteran like Carlos Diego Ferreira, but dude, you know, Mateusz Rębecki, I think I've said this a couple times. If you can call him a prospect at 32 years old, which I know that's kind of tough to do, but if you can call him a prospect, that's my fucking favorite prospect at 155. The dude is a fucking tank. He's a unit. There isn't a hole in his game. As you mentioned, like he's short. So that would be the thing. It's the fact that he's short, the fact that he's 32. He's a little hittable, but he seems to have a granite chin. Like, this dude is fun as fuck to watch. If you guys haven't seen him, do yourself a favor and tune in this Saturday. Or at least
I would say like the most. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, or at least, you know, fucking go watch some of his previous fights. There's no way I'm picking against Mateusz Rębecki in this one. Very disappointed that we're not going to this card, Dino. And this is one of the reasons. It's because I really wanted to see this guy live. Dude's a fucking tank. Dude is a unit.
What's the difference between him and Michael Chandler?
Right. You know? Right. He's like a Polish fucking Michael Chandler.
And is he like, I don't know. I don't know that he's worse.
He might have better straight up wrestling. I know Michael Chandler comes from a high pedigree of wrestling, but Michael Chandler doesn't really use his wrestling in fights anymore, right? So I don't know.
Rębecki's a smarter fighter.
Yeah, 100%. He can be a bit boring when he starts really relying on the wrestling, but that's us just getting like really nitpicky. You know what I mean?
He'll do that, but then he'll end up finding a position.
Right, 100%. So
once he finds a position, he's not going to be bored. He's going to land fucking blows, dude.
I'm with it, dude. I'm all for Mateusz Rębecki.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Yeah, it's weird that it's Rębecki, but I get it. Anyway, moving on. Next fight of the night, we've got Alonzo Menifield taking on my boy Carlos Ulberg. This is a fun ass fight, man. What do you think?
I did not know Carlos Ulberg was your boy. But yeah, Atomic Alonzo Menifield. Let's start there. Stupid power, Dino. We know what the fuck his deal is, dude. You could look at Alonzo Menifield, never seen him fight or anything, and you know what the fuck this dude is about. He is a thick, jacked fucking unit. The guy, his athleticism is like off the fucking charts. He is top tier, like in the UFC. He's like a top 2-3% athlete. Throws bombs, throws them wide as shit. If they touch you, you're probably going to sleep. He has some good takedown defense, some decent takedowns, of his own. The downfalls with Alonzo Menifield really come down to the mental side of things, right? I think he's one of those fighters that just makes some dumb mistakes from time to time, and it causes him. Last time out, he beat the Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby, who is a very high-level striker. He made some mistakes in that one, but he was able to pull it off, so that's good to see. He's taken on another high-level striker in Carlos Blackjack Ulberg. Tall as shit, jacked, has some serious power. He, of course, is another guy fighting out of City Kickboxing. Former kickboxer who does very, very well on the feet. You know, he knows how to manage his range. He knows how to keep distance. He likes to keep people at distance and does phenomenal with that. He touches people up and doesn't get touched. He is stupidly sound on the feet. We did see him get KO'd in his only loss against my boy Kennedy and Chekwu, but that was a weird fight. He was beating the shit out of Kennedy until I don't know what happened. Kennedy just caught him and, kind of put him out. Kennedy does have that weird kind of power to go along with the weird chin that he has. To me, I'm picking Ulberg, man. Besides the slip up against Kennedy, he's looked phenomenal. He hasn't really given me a reason to not pick him. So I'm going to go with him. I'm not touching this as a bet because against Alonzo Menifield, anything can happen. But Carlos Ulberg KO round 2 is my pick.
Yeah, and I pretty much agree with you. It's really the technique and the technical kickboxing of Carlos Ulberg versus the sheer power, athleticism, and the ability. He's got some decent striking too, as far as Alonzo Menifield. Carlos Ulberg, the chin thing is a little, I think Alonzo Menifield is very, very live for the knockout here. I don't think that's a question. So I'm a little hesitant on the betting side of this, especially with the minus 210 odds. I wish if it was like closer to pick 'em, I would be a lot more comfortable with this, throwing it into a parlay or something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ulberg too, man. My boy, really, really high level kickboxing has looked to as finally like in the last couple fights has really looked to have started to really adapt his kickboxing from just a pure kickboxing competition style into more of a MMA kickboxing and kind of utilizing it more for the actual sport that he's doing now. So for me, I think he's going to be able to outpoint Menifield. I could see a late round finish. I could see a finish for either guy here, but I'm going to go Ulberg by decision. I think it'll be a hard fought fight all around. He needs to be careful not to get caught, but ultimately I do think he'll just stay at range more, be able to land more strikes with his technique, and just overall land some nice kicks too. So I'm taking him by decision.
Yeah, I'm with you. I get it. Not much name value on this fight, but an interesting fight for the division.
I really like it, obviously, but anyway, moving on. Next fight of the night is our co-main event, I believe.
Yep.
Sorry, I lost my place. And I'm talking about Joaquin Buckley versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Is that me or you on this one?
It's you, brother. You're big screened.
Oh shit, my bad. Yeah, man. This was a tough one for me, right? Nursulton Ruziboev, he's got the EV. Yeah, the EV in his name, and he's a pretty good fighter, man. And then we also I think the biggest thing for me is obviously we saw Joaquin Buckley beat
Vicente Luque.
Vicente Luque, thank you, in his last fight. So to me is how much does that mean? Obviously, it's an older Vicente Luque, not somebody who's in his prime at this point. But man, Joaquin Buckley, he's looked pretty damn good at the weight class at this point. He's looked pretty damn good. Nursulton Ruziboev, I don't think has really anything for him when it comes to the striking. I don't think he'll have a too hard of a time there. He's got bad on the feet, but overall, man, I think he has taken an extra step. And for him, if you recall at the UFC 300 presser, he asked for this. He literally asked. Well, he asked to main event the card because he is from St. Louis. And so more than anybody, it seems like he really, really, really wanted to fight in this card. And I'm glad he gets the co-main event here. I got to take him, man. I think he's going to land better shots. I think it will be a hard-fought fight. He does sometimes have some mental lapses, right? So we haven't seen as much of that lately, so maybe he's turned a corner. But I just hope that he's able to execute his game plan and doesn't get too ahead of himself because he's in St. Louis, because he's in front of the home crowd. So I'm going to take him by decision, but I'm not super duper confident here.
I feel you. And look, man, Joaquin Buckley, since moving down to 170, Dino, it's been like a, I don't want to say career resurgence, but he's looked fucking impressive at 170. He is 3-0 in the division. Obviously, he's short still for 170, but he's got huge power. He's super fast. He's explosive, good footwork. The Vicente Luque fight was a little weird to me. It's again, Vicente Luque, me and you have talked about this so much. What do you make of Vicente Luque now at 32 years old? He never kind of really panned out to be the guy we thought he was going to be. But of course, there's very impressive wins and, very impressive fights on Vicente Luque's side. Then you take Nursulton Ruziboev. He's tall as shit for this division. So We have a really tall guy for the division versus a really short guy for the division. 6'5". He's 34-8 at 30 years old. So a ton of experience, even though you know how it is with the stat padding, not necessarily the best people that he's fought. And then in the UFC, he had a weird win in his last fight about 2 months ago where he fought SD Dumas. There was like a whole eye poke situation and he got the finish, a really shitty way for that fight to end. But he's shown some decent striking and some real power. But looking at him, and you mentioned the EV, like you see where he's from in the world. So you know like grappling is really what he wants to do. He has some good sub skills too. So you have Joaquin Buckley coming off of a huge win versus a huge name. And this could be massive for him fighting at home in a co-main event spot. He's been training with like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guys. He put that on Instagram. So he's ready for this fight, man. And then you have Nursulton Ruziboev coming off of a win as well, but like a very weird one against a lower level guy in SD Dumas. But, Dino, I just think Nursulton Ruziboev is too big for Joaquin Buckley, man. I think he's going to get a takedown. I think he's going to get a sub pretty quickly in this one. I'm going round 1 sub. I think for Joaquin Buckley, it could be a situation where it's like, man, you might be too big for your boots right now. You asked for this, like you ask, you shall receive, but this ain't a fucking layup of a fight at all. The only way I see Joaquin Buckley winning this fight is if Ruziboev, feeling kind of froggy after these last few knockouts, decides, you know what? I fell in love with my hands, that old wrestling thing. The wrestlers start falling in love with their hands after a couple knockouts, and he stands and tries to trade with Joaquin Buckley. That's going to be no good, but I see him getting a takedown and a sub.
Yeah, and you know what, man? I'm changing my pick. The more I've thought about it as you were talking to, I totally like didn't even think about the size difference. I had it written down, but I didn't even like it like slipped my mind. I think this might be the exact kind of fighter that he struggles with. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of power. I'm not fully convinced that I'm a true believer in Joaquin Buckley as somebody that's like, he's looked really good at 170. He's looked better at 170, but
yeah,
I don't know that I'm fully convinced that he's somebody that's going to make real waves in the division. I think he capitalized on a flash in the pan with Vicente Luque and aging Vicente Luque, which is not a great matchup for Vicente Luque. So,
and Dino,
I agree.
Could we look at something here? Like, okay, let's look at Joaquin Buckley since he entered the UFC. And you know, I hate to do this because I am a fan of Buckley. You know, we met him. He's a nice guy, but let's really take a look at it. His first UFC fight in his debut, he lost to Kevin Holland, right? So he was on like a big stage right away. Kevin Holland knocked him out. He was talking shit to him. That's how his career started. Then he goes and he gets the knockout versus Impa, the world famous knockout against our boy Impa Kasanganay. Call it what you want to call it, man. That's a fluky ass knockout. That's not a kind of thing that you're going to be able to do to any of these professional fighters. It was a thing. It happened. It is what it is. He goes on after that to knock out Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja. Jordan Wright, a guy that didn't succeed at all in the UFC. Then he loses to Alessio De Chirico. Jeez, cat got my tongue. Alessio De Chirico. He got knocked out in that one. Alessio De Chirico, not really a high-level guy. He beats Antonio Arroyo. Then he beats Abdulrazak Al-Hassan and Albert Duraev. Some name value there, but not really the best fighters in the world. He gets a step up in competition, loses to Nasruddin Imavov, loses to Chris Curtis, and then as he comes down to welterweight, knocks out Andre Fialho, which everybody was doing, beats Alex Morono, which is an impressive win, and then Vicente Luque has been an impressive win. So it's like the end of that resume. Yes, it's starting to look good.
But even Morono is like,
I'm saying, man, so it's not like, you know, his resume, there's some good wins there for sure. Like beating Impa looks very damn impressive now. A win versus Morono for your resume looks good. Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, a very dangerous guy. Like, and then of course the Vicente Luque fight. But it seems like when he takes that step up, and I don't really know that Ruziboev is that step up. I'm just saying, dude, like, I think we just need to hit the brakes a little bit. Yeah, we just need to hit the brakes a little bit with Joaquin Buckley. And if he proves it, I'm down. I'd like for him to prove it, but we'll find out.
Yeah, let's see. But yeah, officially switching my pick, so don't come for my neck. All right, main event time. Boom. Derrick Lewis taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. What do you think about that?
All right, so let's start with the Black Beast, Derrick fucking Lewis. He's 1-4 in his last 5, Dino. 1-4. Look, if you know anything about the UFC, you know what the fuck Derrick Lewis is about. He is the knockout king. He has the most knockouts in the promotion's history. We know the vibes. He's a knockout or bust kind of fighter. He has all the power in the world. He might be pound for pound the hardest puncher the UFC's ever had. He's starting to age now, man. He's 39 years old. It's not the biggest issue at heavyweight. We've seen guys at 205 and at heavyweight have some success and have really tons of success at later ages, but he's 39 and he's so damn unpredictable. Like he's easy to take down, but he stands right back up. If he touches you, you might go the fuck out. But then sometimes it seems like he quits on himself, right? Like I don't know how much Derrick Lewis is invested at this moment in fighting. I think he made his money.
No, Derrick Lewis is here for a paycheck.
Yeah, and I think he makes a couple $100,000 every time he steps out there, especially for a main event. He probably gets paid a little more. And I think that's what he's here for. He's taking on Rodrigo Nascimento, 11-1 fighter. He's a grappler. He has some good submission skills. On the feet, he's okay, but he really, really in this fight needs to avoid staying on the feet with Derrick Lewis, because Derrick Lewis, for what it's worth, has shown us the ability to survive 5 rounds, and not only survive 5 rounds, be dangerous, Dino, in the 24th and 25th minute of a fight, which is fucking shocking, because you think he's 39 years old, and you think of Derrick Lewis being this fat dude, but he's got fucking good cardio. He's athletic as shit. We see the, the little fucking switch kicks and all that. And I do this every single time Derrick Lewis fights, and I say I cannot pick Derrick Lewis anymore, and I always fucking do it, right? And then I'll go on to say the other thing that I always fucking say every time Derrick Lewis fights. Rodrigo Nascimento, Dino, does that not look like a guy that Derrick Lewis would just knock the fuck out?
Yes.
It really does. But the question is, am I doing it? I'm not fucking doing it this time. I'm going to try to be smart. So I'm not picking Derrick Lewis, and I'm not picking fucking Terrance McKinney, which is like, I feel like that's a curveball for me. I'm going Rodrigo Nascimento, man. I don't know if Derrick Lewis really wants to win this fight. I think, like you said, he's here for a fucking paycheck. I'm going Nascimento by super boring ass decision, and hopefully I'm fucking wrong.
Yep. Yeah, listen, we have evidence in we have a few different fights recently that we saw Derrick Lewis about either taking on grapplers, right? His last 3 fights really have been against grapplers, interestingly enough. Sergey Spivak dominated him, but Sergey Spivak is a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Nascimento is not that kind of wrestler.
Right.
Also, Spivak, I would say, has better striking than Nascimento personally. I think Nascimento's striking is trash. I really do. I don't think he has anything at all for Derrick Lewis on the feet. He's going to be no threat on the feet. Derrick Lewis has some really nice sprawls, shockingly. And he just went 5 rounds with Jailton Almeida, who's probably the premier grappler in the division at this point. So
no, sir. No. Don't do that. It's the guy that just knocked him the fuck out. Chicago's own Curtis Razor Blades, baby. Who, by the way, rumor has it is getting a title shot in
wrestler. Well, that's a wrestler. I'm talking about more jiu-jitsu, like threat kind of guys.
Or Manchester. Where are they going? Manchester, Birmingham? They're going fucking somewhere in England, and that's supposed to be Blades. And
maybe we'll see the fucking the hidden champion.
I don't know what the fuck that means, but I'm down.
Fucking what's his name? Leon?
Oh, that guy.
That guy's a fucking. He's just not doing shit. What the terrible champion. Anyway, yeah. Listen, Jailton Almeida is a way better grappler than Nascimento. He's more powerful on the feet too. He's better. Jailton Almeida is just not as big as Rodrigo Nascimento. So the question is, will he be able to get Derrick Lewis down? I don't even think he'll be able to get Derrick Lewis down, personally. I think he gets knocked down the first round. You said you're going to be smart. I'm not going to be smart if that's what we're calling this. I'm saying Derrick Lewis, first round knockout violently, and I'm pretty confident in it.
Dino, do you know, that that's what I want to pick.
Yeah, of course.
And really, I think that's what's going to happen. But it's just like how many, it's one of those things, like you touch the fucking hot stove when you're a little kid and you're like, fuck, I don't want to do that again. I've done that 1,000 fucking times with Derrick Lewis.
I know. He's 38 years old, but he was 38 4 months ago when he fought Jailton, and he went 5 rounds with Jailton Almeida.
He was fucking 38. He was fucking 38 2 years ago when we started this show. He was our first episode. Had to do that fucking callback again. And it's just like, dude, I don't know. It's for us. I hope fucking Derrick Lewis wins. It's always fun to see him get a fucking knockout and, take his pants off and say some crazy shit into the fucking mic. Crowd will be going absolutely nuts. In St. Louis, it's going to be a pro Derrick Lewis crowd. Yeah, this is going to be fun as fuck. So I'm excited for UFC Fight Night, Lewis Nascimento in the loop.
That's it.
That's it.
Let's get it.
You got to say this is all we got and like all that shit. This is what you do.
All we got, man. It's a Derrick Lewis fight night. You know, I'm pumped for it. It's not the highest level main event, but overall, nice little card. I'm pumped for it. There's some good fights. There's some interesting like style matchups and interesting like aggression level matchups. Some decent women's fights too. I'm excited for it, man.
Yeah, badass card. Anyways, guys, Dino, do you have anything else to say before we wrap this up?
Nope.
Guys, that right there is DS, and I'm Dino Bam Bam. And we're the 10-7 MMA. If you enjoyed, do us a fucking favor. Please like and subscribe like that little ticker has been telling you to do for a fucking hour now. Also, you can follow us on IG and Instagram like the little ticker is telling you to do now. That would really help us out, and we would really greatly appreciate it. So once again, that's DS. I'm Dino Bam Bam. We're the 10-7 MMA. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.